Hello, everyone. I'm John Berman. Kate is off today. Our breaking news any minute. You're looking at live pictures right now from San Antonio, where police will hold a news conference on the huge manhunt currently underway for the person who gunned down an officer who was sitting inside his police car just outside police headquarters. Now, after this ambush, the shooter drove away. As I said, there is a manhunt underway right now. We're waiting for updates on any developments there. In the past 24 hours, 4 officers around the country have been shot. This has happened in 3 different states, so this is a cause for concern this morning. Again, we'll bring you to San Antonio the minute that news conference begins. In the meantime, this morning we are watching Trump Tower. Any lines at all between the business of Trump Inc. and the business of America? Does he intend to observe any lines going forward? Does Congress intend any oversight over these lines, if in fact they actually exist? Does Donald Trump dislike all Broadway musicals or just this year's Tony Award winner? All this swirling as President-elect Trump has meeting after meeting today, including, we just learned, with one surprising Democrat. CNN's Jason Carroll joins us from outside Trump Tower with the very latest. Good morning, Jason. A lot going on.
A lot going on. Back-to-back meetings yesterday, as you know, John. More and more meetings taking place today. You talk about that surprise that Congresswoman from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, is a Democrat now under consideration, a former combat vet, perhaps considering for defense secretary or secretary of state or a U.S. ambassador. You'll remember that Donald Trump said not that long ago that he would not consider having a Democrat the past hour. Other folks on the list as well: former Labor Secretary Elaine Chao, also the governor of Oklahoma, Mary Fallin, perhaps under consideration for Secretary of the Interior. Also scheduled to meet with Trump today here at Trump Tower, a former Texas governor, Rick Perry, who at one point said that he would eliminate the Department of Energy, now under consideration to head up that department, so he might have some explaining to do there. As I said, back-to-back meetings here today. He also had back-to-back meetings yesterday, not at this location, but at his property in New Jersey. He also met with one of his political foes, Mitt Romney, under consideration for that coveted spot of Secretary of State. The meeting apparently that went very, very well. Kellyanne Conway, campaign manager, summed up the whole process in this way.
There's a long short list for each of these positions. I mean, he's also met with Senator Bob Corker from Tennessee. Let's go back to my previous comment, which is not everyone who consults with the president-elect and comes to meet with him, Chris, is going to be in his cabinet or in his federal government.
We should also note that later today, the Trump team is expected to release a video where Trump will outline some of the issues that are key to him, issues that he wants to focus in on, such as Trans-Pacific Partnership. He wants to get rid of TPP, energy, national security, immigration, and also the condition of U.S. workers. And, John, there's also been some talk about what Trump would end up doing for Thanksgiving. Would he stay here? Would he head to Florida? It turns out that he is going to be heading to Florida for Thanksgiving. John.
All right, Jason Carroll, thanks so much. You know, what's notable about that video release is that by this stage of the game, most presidents-elect have held news conferences or spoken to the press before with questions or answers, or at least statements to camera. That really hasn't happened with this president-elect, so it is notable he's choosing to release a video, a very controlled release. Let's bring in our panel right now. Joining us, CNN political analyst, Washington bureau chief for the Daily Beast, Jackie Kucinich, Princeton professor and historian Julian Zelzer, and CNN political director David Chalian. There is a lot to discuss, and I want to get to Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrat in the House, in just a moment. But I'm going to take some prerogative here because I covered 2 of his presidential campaigns and start with Mitt Romney, the former Massachusetts governor, former Republican nominee, former harsh personal critic of Donald Trump, had a meeting in Bedminster yesterday. And over the last 24 hours, no one has done anything, David Chalian, to knock down the idea that Mitt Romney could end up as Secretary of State.
That's right, John. You remember before the meeting, a lot of folks in Romney's most inner circle sort of said, well, you know, this is going to be very difficult for Mitt Romney to sort of get to the place of saying yes to something like this. You're right that we haven't seen anyone knock this down yet. We knew that a lot was going to hinge on how that meeting went, and the fact that after that meeting from the Trump side, which clearly they would like this, they would like Romney to get on board with this idea of being Secretary of State. You know, Pence went out again yesterday and said how active and real the consideration is, and with no one on the Romney side knocking it down, you've got to say that this is being considered by Mitt Romney, and I don't know that we're going to get an announcement today or not, John, but this would be an astounding pick. I think it goes much beyond Barack Obama putting Hillary Clinton in his cabinet. This would be a real team of rivals moment. Mitt Romney was opposed to Trump throughout the entire general election as well.
Hey, David, hang on one second. Guys, hang on one second. I want to go to San Antonio right now for this news conference on the officer who was ambushed and murdered outside police headquarters there. I believe this is going to be the police chief, William McManus, explaining what happened with the latest developments in the death of Benjamin Marconi. Let's listen in.
Are we ready? Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, and as I promised, I would keep you all updated. That's what we're going to do here this morning. Since the shooting, we've been able to develop a suspect from this video surveillance. That suspect is not in custody. Video of the suspect is posted on SAPD's Facebook, and we ask if you would to show it as often as possible. The suspect is described as a black male in his 20s, thin build, 5'8 to 5'10, with a goatee. And the vehicle is a 2009 to 2012 black Mitsubishi Galant with custom rims. Further information pertaining to this ongoing investigation, which could compromise the future prosecution of the murderer when he is arrested, we will not talk about that. So bear with me if you ask me questions. If I can't release it, the information, I'm going to tell you that, and let's let it drop right there. We continue to ask our partners in the public for their assistance in identifying the suspect. If you have any information, please call police at 911 or Crime Stoppers at 224-STOP. Our state and federal law enforcement partners are working with us to aggressively investigate this case, and we will continue that without stop, without fail, until this suspect is in custody. And again, we consider this suspect to be extremely dangerous both to the police and to the public. So if you see this car out there, or see the individual that you believe matches the description of the person in the video, please call us. Don't approach him on your own. And we'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Chief, why was this man inside headquarters?
We questioned a number of people. He was one of them. Who are you talking about?
The surveillance photo of this man.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why he was in headquarters. We have some ideas why we believe he may have been in headquarters, but we're not quite sure. There's several motives that we're looking at.
In that video, he leaned down and said something over the intercom that allowed him access. Do you know what he said to the person on the other end?
I do, but I'm not going to reveal that right now. We don't know that really plays into the investigation, but I'm not going to put out too many details on that.
Did you ever find out what happened to the original?
You said you questioned a number of people. Is that correct?
We talked to a number.
The suspect in the video clearly looks agitated. He's pacing back and forth. Do you feel that there's a connection between the suspect's state of mind at that point and what happened 4 hours later?
I could only be speculating, so I don't know. I don't want to.
Him to be the suspect? What the main reason you center on this man?
There's a number of reasons for that the investigators have surmised, but based on their conversations about the issue. But I'm not going to go into that level of detail.
Can you say what time this happened? What time you were trying to get into the police department?
It was earlier in the morning.
About 7:45 or
Yes.
so? From the times?
Yes.
Chief, do you know who he talked to in the police department and why he left only 20 seconds after entering?
He talked to the clerk at the desk.
And can you tell us what
He asked a question, the clerk said that they would help him with that, and he said never mind and walked out.
Do you know what the question was?
Yes.
Well, what did he ask?
I'm not going to say what it was.
Can you categorize the depth and the breadth of this search? Has anything like this happened in San Antonio before?
We have pulled out all the stops. We have engaged our federal partners, our state partners, and our local partners in the search for this individual. The search has gone on since we started yesterday afternoon and has not stopped all night and to this point, and it will not stop until this person is in custody.
What happened with the person of interest that you guys had in custody? Is he released already? Or?
We spoke with him and he was released.
And that was through U.S. Marshal Service, correct?
Pardon?
That was through U.S. Marshal Service, correct?
There's a task force, I'll call it, working on this case. So it was the person was brought in for questioning and released.
Chief, have you been in touch with your counterparts in St. Louis? Do you believe this was just an incredibly tragic coincidence that the same thing happened to an officer there several hours after it happened to our officer?
I will say that it is certainly a coincidence, but we're not going to venture to say that it's connected.
Do you feel the mood of officers? Do they feel like, based on what's happening around the country, especially yesterday, that, for lack of a better word, do they feel targeted, at war?
They absolutely felt targeted. I feel we were targeted.
Do you think this detective was targeted specifically, or do you think this person was looking for
Public and trying to track him down. I've heard several calls from people saying they thought they saw the vehicle.
Say that again?
I said, can you talk about any assistance? What kind of phone calls have you got from the public thinking they've seen this person?
We've been getting many calls.
Will you guys be doubling up, writing
Yes.
buddies from now on, or just for how long?
Yes, until this individual is apprehended, yes.
Chief, at the time that this individual made entry into the lobby, were there any other uniformed personnel in the lobby?
No.
When you say doubling up, is that 2 people per patrol car, or is that 2 cars following each other?
2 officers per car.
That's mandatory, I'm sorry, is that an option?
Right now it's an option, but we're encouraging it.
Have you met with Detective Marconi's family, and is there anything the community can do to help right now?
I have, and the community, as always, we're looking for information. Anyone out there who knows anything at all, no matter how trivial they think it may be, we want to know about it. 911 or 224, 224, what's that number? 224 stop.
One more question.
Anything more about the suspect that you care to share? Do you know if he's from the area? Is he known to the police department? Anything else?
We don't know if he's from the area, but our net is we've cast it in a very wide area.
What can be seen on the dashboard cam, Chief, if anything?
A lot of things.
Audio and video?
I'm not going to go into that part. There's a lot of information on the dash cam video is all I'll say.
What about Officer Marconi's family? Is his father, grandfather, kid?
Obviously, as you might suspect, devastated.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. We're going to have another briefing later on. We'll keep you posted from our...
All right, you've been listening to San Antonio Police Headquarters right now. That's Police Chief Willie McManus. He is briefing us on the latest in the investigation into the ambush killing of Detective Benjamin Marconi, who was a 20-year veteran of the department. They do have a suspect that they are looking for right now, a black male in his 20s. They also believe that this man drove off in a Mitsubishi Galant 2009 to 2012, and there is a manhunt underway, a huge manhunt underway in the San Antonio area. They believe that it was the uniform that was the target, that this suspect went to police headquarters, actually went inside, asked the clerks a question. So he was inside police headquarters briefly, then he left, then he murdered a police officer, and there is this manhunt underway right now for this suspect they believe was targeting a police officer. Any police officer. We will bring you the latest on the investigation when we get it. In the meantime, we're going to get back to politics right after a quick break.